Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be looking at a game between two 1600s on Lead Chess, maybe 13 to 1400 on chess.com. They made a lot of mistakes. You can 100% learn from their mistakes and improve at chess faster. Now the game started with the move e4, and now black played e6, the French defense, by going d5 next, and knight to f3, d5, and now some people take this pawn, but some people, prefer to push the pawn to e5, and then black plays the move c5. Now this is the opening phase, and you might be seeing this as a weird setup, but every opening has its features, okay? Maybe you like to play against e4 the Carl Khan and you have a different structure. Maybe you like to play the Sicilian. Everyone has his own, preferences when it comes to the opening. But whatever you play in the opening phase, it does not matter. As long as you're not blundering your pieces in the opening phase or pawns, your opening is perfect, okay? Bishop to b5 check. Some people play bishop to d7, blocking, or knight to c6. Black played knight to c6, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now white played h3. Now, in the previous video that I made, looking at a two, intermediate chess players game, I told you about time wasters. It is moved like this. Okay, maybe I can let this one slide if there was no pawn here and you are scared of someone putting the bishop on g4, pinning the knight to the queen since you gave up your light square bishop. That one I can understand, but there's a pawn in the way. So making this move, trying to prevent bishop to g4, is completely insane and a waste of time. The bishop cannot teleport there. There's a pawn that cannot be moved right now. So there's no point of wasting time. White should have castled. White should have played knight here. White should have played d4 maybe, or d3, trying to get the bishop out, trying to be active in his moves, not passive like the move h3. Okay, now bishop to a6. It's a good move because he saw that white did not castle. So he was like, okay, I'm going to put the bishop here, stopping you from castling. But I mean, white can simply play d3, and he can castle on the next move. So it's not really a big of a deal. Black decided to play c4. Trying, if he takes, there will be this move, bishop takes c4, stopping white from castling right away. White decided to push, and now black played c5. As you can see right now, black is only playing with his pawns and his bishop. Is that enough, in your opinion? Well, it is not enough. You have to get your other pieces into the game. You have to get the knight into the position, knight here or knight to f5, trying to get the bishop out, trying maybe to fink out of the bishop if you'd like, and try to get the king castled, not just play with pawns, but this move is still fine. And now white played the move c3. Now, you might be thinking, is this a waste of time? Well, yes, but white did not know that it is a waste of time. Why? Because he wanted a castle. But if he castled, he thought that black can play c3, attacking his rook and attacking the pawn here. He cannot take the pawn with the pawn or with the knight. He will lose his rook. But he can simply move away. After black takes his pawn, bishop takes, it is still fine. Nothing wrong with this position. Actually, it's completely equal. But, white was afraid of this move, so he decided to play c3 before castling, because he was afraid of opening up the bishop on his rook that's going to be there. Okay, now after this move, black decided to play knight to e7, and now I want you to tell me if this a move is a good move, is it a bad move, is it a slow move, is it a waste of time? Try to guess before I tell you the answer. Well, if you check the video and you pause it for a minute, I'm going to tell you that this move is not a good move. Why? Because most chess players, I told you in the previous video, that many people don't ask themselves why I want to go there and how can my opponent punish me. They just play it. They're like, well, I have to develop my knight, so let's just do it. And he did not think about how can his opponent punish his mistake, punish his move, or respond to his move, or react to his move. He was like, I'm gonna go here, and maybe he's gonna castle, and then we put the knight here, or maybe the knight here on f5, and then we get the bishop out, and then we castle. But black did not see queen to a4 check. The king cannot move. Your black is supposed or forced to block with the queen. Of course, white will not take the queen, he will take the free bishop, because this is a fork and he won the bishop. That's why knight to e7 is a blunder. You cannot make a move thinking, oh, only what you want. You want to put the knight here, you want to put the knight here on c6. Think about what your opponent wants as well. Okay? This is why you blunder pieces at this level, at the intermediate level. You do not check what your opponent can do. How can your opponent respond? How can your opponent punish your mistake? Okay, now you might you don't know it's a mistake or not. Okay, but this is why you don't know, because you just played the move thinking about only what you want, right, and not thinking about what your opponent wants to do. So here it's a bad move because there's a check and you will lose the bishop. Here, trying to go here, it's also the same mistake. You will lose the bishop. So a better move was playing queen out to b6, because if you play this check, you can just attack it with the bishop. Maybe you could have went all the way back here, bishop to c8, and after this check, you can block with the bishop. Okay? You could have played a lot of moves to avoid being attacked with this move, but you have to ask yourself, what can my opponent do? How can he punish me for the move that I made? Look, imagine every single move you make is a blunder, okay? I know it sounds very messed up, but imagine every move you make is a blunder. Now, look at how can your opponent, you know, make use of this. Make use of this blunder. And if you couldn't find any way for your opponent to make use of it, then it is not a blunder. This is how you avoid blunders. Okay? Not just thinking that, oh, I'm making a good move. It's a developing move. You just naming it a developing move and a good move will not do the job. You have to think of how your opponent punish it. Imagine every move is a blunder. Every move. This move is a blunder. Why? How can he punish me? Well, he can give me a check. Okay, after this check, what's going to happen? I have to move my king. I cannot move my king. So I have to block. But my bishop is hanging. So if I block with the queen, he can just take my bishop. Oh, that's why it's a blunder. But let's say the bishop was maybe here, okay, and I played knight to e7. Then he can, and I thought it was a blunder. Knight to e7 is a blunder. How can he make use of it? Then he can play this check. But I can block with the bishop, and his queen will go back. That's why knight to e7 is not a blunder. Okay? Consider every move you make as a blunder and try to prove it. And if you couldn't prove it, then it is not a blunder. This is the best way for you to actually, try to avoid blunders as fast as possible. Okay? Knight to e7, but of course, I'm just telling you this because I am seeing what's happening on the chessboard, and I'm seeing the mistake, which is knight to e7. But White did not see that, and he just castled. That's why I told you he played the move c3, not to open up for the check. He played c3 to avoid the pawn being pushed and lose his rook. He's still not looking at a lot of options he has. This move, he was only looking at stopping this pawn from opening up the bishop on his king, on his rook, and maybe lose the pawn here, but then he can just take it back. He did not look at queen to a4 check that he can win a bishop. Okay, so whenever you are, let's say you're playing with the white pieces and you have an option to castle or you have an option to do something else, think about something else. This move will always happen. Right now, or after 5 moves or after 10 moves, it will always be there. But this check will not always be there because maybe black will finally see it and play maybe bishop here, or maybe get back with the bishop to c8, and after the check, after the check here, he can block. Always, always take your chance. Think about a move that can punish your opponent right away and take it. Okay? This move will not run away from you. Okay? The king will be castled no matter what black does. There's no way to stop white from castling, and white can castle no matter what. So think before making a move. This is just like your safety net. Okay, whatever happens, I can just castle my king if I don't have a plan. Okay, but now think, what can I do to my opponent? I can give this check. Okay, what happens after it? Well, he needs to block. Should I take the queen or should I take the bishop? Of course, you take the free piece, and then you drop back, and you will be all good. Now, white did not see that. Again, he did not see that, and he played castles. Sorry, this is the first time he did not see that, and he castled. Now, black went here to f5. Now, I want to ask you, is this a good move? Is it not a good move? Try to pause the video for a moment and think, is it a good move? Is it a bad move? Or you can think in a better way, this move is a blunder. How can my opponent punish that? That's a better way to think about it, if you would like. Now, if you pause the video and you actually thought about it, you would, you know, come to conclude that this move is also a blunder because it didn't deal with the dame threat of the check because black did not think about it. Black did not think about it. White can still play queen to a4 and either the king moves or black, blocks with the queen. He will still lose the bishop no matter what. And the queen can easily go back. There will be no threat on the queen. But white missed it. Now, also let's say, okay, this move, even if you want to play a move like this, you are thinking that this is the developing move. No. If you think about a move that it's a developing move, think how can your opponent punish it. Now, we already discussed how can my opponent punish it, and you will lose a piece on the spot. But let's say the queen was not here to deliver a check. Let's say the queen was here, okay? The queen was there on e1 or on e2 or on d2. No way to give this check, okay? Is this a good move? Tell me, is this a good move? Do you think it's a good move or do you think it's a bad move? Well, to try to find out the answer, you have to ask yourself, if I played, before playing the move, if I played knight to f5, what can he do? Imagine the queen is on these three squares, not here. Okay, if the queen is here and I want to play knight to f5, is this a good move or is it a bad move? Well, if you played this move, can he attack your knight? Well, yes. Can your knight go here? No, because of the knight. Can the knight go here? Well, you wanna ruin your pawn structure, go ahead. So this move is not good. Also, first of all, it loses a piece. Second of all, it can be punished and it will be returned back. Like after this move goes here, you don't want to go there and ruin your pawn structure, right? So what do? You get back exactly where you came from and you gave white more space. That's why it's a mistake if the queen was there. But of course, the queen is not here on these three squares, so the queen is there, and white can play this move, and black will lose the bishop. So, for the second time, white did not see it and played rook to e1. White is just printing the dame opening principles on the chessboard. Bro, I know the opening principles are very, very important. Get your king to safety, and he did on the expense of winning a dame piece. He made the move, okay, even though he was going to win a piece, but he was like, no, I want to get my king castled. He respects the opening principles. Then he played rook to e1. I was like, okay, let me get my rook active. Where the dame activity is. I mean, you're looking at your own pawn that cannot be moved. Why you're putting the rook there? Even if you want to develop pieces, the last piece you want to develop is the dame rook. Develop the knight, develop the bishop. That's how you're supposed to develop pieces. Minor pieces first, then the big dogs, right? But white is just, I don't know. He heard about the opening principles and it was like, okay, I'm gonna copy the opening principles and I'm gonna base them in every single game, and I don't care until I'm finished from my opening my opening repertoire or my opening structure that I want. Then I will think in chess. White player is not thinking. He's just pasting moves, copy paste every move. Black played bishop to e7 and it's still a dame blunder because white can still play this check. Black is forced to block or lose castling rights. It's even more horrendous. So after this move, he loses a piece and white is completely winning here. But believe it or not, white did not play the move. For 3 times in a row, white did not see this. Why? Don't stick yourself to the opening principles. I know opening principles are very important. And now what white is doing is improving his pieces. He was like, I want to improve my bishop here so that I can improve my knight here. And then I would make up a plan. White is just following the opening principles by heart. But this is wrong. This is why I told you in the previous video, you have to adapt. Adapt to your opponent moves. You cannot just blitz out the moves thinking that you're just developing your pieces without actually thinking about the consequences of it. White just missed a lot of opportunities to win a piece, and he's not winning the piece because he is just memorizing the opening principles and he's just doing them in every single move. This guy missed this move 3 times in a row. Imagine how many wins he could have won. Imagine how many wins this guy could have won if he just played better, if he just adapted to his opponent's moves. He was like, oh, this move is bad. I can play this check and win a piece. But I was like, no, let me just develop. Opening principles work. Opening principles are great, but not on the at the expense of losing your advantage. Okay, every single time White makes a move, he's losing his advantage because here he had 3.2 advantage because he can play a check and win a piece, full bishop. He played this move and now it's back to minus 0.6. It's better for black if he just castled his king. Now he got his queen out to b6, and this is not a blunder. Why? Because after this check, black can block like this, and he will not lose the piece. And White here took a pawn. Bishop takes, queen takes, and black is lucky that after this check he can block, or block with the queen, and not lose the bishop. Here in this position, White played knight to d4. Now, after this move, knight to d4, you have to think about what is a good move. I have an option to take. Now, obviously, you don't want him to take you here. Let's say you played this horrendous move, and you allowed him to take your knight, and after takes, first of all, you're weakening your pawns by splitting them, and also by doubling them, and also by making a straight path for your opponent's pawn to be pushed. So this is a horrendous move you're not supposed to be thinking about. So either you take or you move back. Okay? Now, you have an option. Knight takes d4 or knight to e7, going back to safety. It is your move now. What do you think is the best move? Pause the video and try to find the best move here for black. Which one? Okay, hopefully you pause the video, you pause the video for a moment to try to find the answer, and the answer is yes. Knight takes d4 is best. You might say, well, he can just take with a pawn. Well, yes, he can just move away and continue the game. Maybe you could play here, attack a pawn in the process, whatever. And you might be saying, well, why knight to e7 is a blunder? Why it's not a good move? Why knight takes is better? Well, because the king is not castled, and white can still play this check. Now, black will lose the piece, unless he put it in here on b5, but he will lose it anyway. And after takes, knight takes, white just won a bishop. He might win the rook if black is just still not thinking and not thinking what about his opponent and what can he do. Now, you might be saying, well, we can block with the knight, which exactly what happened in the game. White decided to take with the queen with a check, forcing the queen trade, and now he's up a piece. He won the knight for free. Then I can go back and everything's fine. Why this happened? Why this happened? What do you say? This happened because white was following the opening principles by heart, and he's not thinking about any move until he develops every single piece that he has. When he develops his pieces, then he starts thinking. That is wrong. In the opening phase and slash, trying to get into the middle game, always adapt to your opponent's moves. Adapt. If he made a move, think about it being a blunder and how can you exploit it. If you cannot exploit it, that means it's not a blunder. Always think in this way. Every move that my opponent does is a blunder until I prove it wrong. That's how you can spot blunders even faster. The second mistake that this guy did, playing with the black pieces, which he made a lot of horrendous moves, like moving the knight and still blundering his bishop to this fork, but white is not looking at it. Another mistake is here. He's not thinking. He's not thinking. After knight goes here, what can my opponent do? Now you might be thinking, what about this? And now white plays this check. That's a horrendous move because of this move. Bishop here, and the queen needs to move back. And now the knight can't be free. So this is a horrendous move by white. That's why after this move, he either takes with the queen or either takes with the pawn. It does not matter. He just equal trade, equal pieces trade, and that's fine. The queen will move back, and black will castle, and the game will continue in an equal position. And then it's up to them to decide what's going to happen. But when he went back, he did not think. He did not think about what white is going to do. Every move you make is a blunder until you prove it wrong. Okay? Every move you make is a blunder until you prove it wrong, and every move your opponent makes is also a blunder until you prove it wrong. That's how you can spot blunders, and that's how you can spot your own blunders and stop them from happening. That's why after this move, finally, white saw this check, and after this, he won a piece, and the game continued. Black castled. I'm gonna quickly go through the game. He's just developing his pieces now, and I mean, there's nothing to be done here. Just, I mean, being down a full piece is hard to fight with, but yeah, after a couple of moves, he's trying to go here, trying to attack this pawn because he cannot take it pinned. I mean, respect, he's still trying to fight. He moved the king, and now bishop here, attack the knight. Knight went here, and he went back trying to defend the pawn. He moved the knight, and now he's attacking this pawn. So he could have just taken here. Not to lose another pawn, he could have just taken here, and if white takes, at least this pawn is protected, and it could be protected by moving the pawn here as well, stopping the knight. So this is more active, even though it's completely being crushed by like a move like this, and the pawn will be pushed, but at least it's still trying to fight. This move completely attacks a pawn and cannot be defended, so he needs to take the knight, but he did not. He moved the bishop back. He lost this, even though he could have taken with the knight, but rook takes here. Now, black is down 4 points of material. This is a horrendous position for black. What can you do? Well, believe this or not, in every single game where you're down material, your opponent might blunder. Give him the chance to do that. Okay? Give your opponent the chance to blunder when he's up material in the games, okay? Give him a chance to blunder. And how can you do that? By keeping more pieces on the board. Here you have an option. Trade or not trade. Which one is better? Of course, not trading. Getting the hell away from this. Yes, losing a pawn is worthless. It's a worthless piece of shit. You don't care about the pawn. You care about pieces, because the more pieces on the board, the worse it's going to be the harder for your opponent to actually try to get the win, because a lot of force trying to defend the king. But if you traded everything, it's going to be super easy for him to break through and get a pawn and make a queen, right? So you're not supposed to trade here. After rook takes, knight takes. Now the bishop is hanging, the rook is hanging. White black decide to do, he can go rook to d6, defending the rook and also defending the bishop. So if you want to take, it's just a trade. Even though white is completely crushing because he has a pawn, he's up a pawn, and he has a piece as well. But black went here. He had 6 minutes and 29 seconds, and he played this move in 3 seconds. You're moving 3 points of material and giving away 5 points of material. I mean, he is not a beginner. This guy is an intermediate chess player. How are you an intermediate chess player and you don't know the damn value of the pieces? Every piece has a value. Bishop is 3, the rook is 5. If you want to lose one of them, lose the bishop. Why? Because losing 3 points is better than losing 5 points. And of course, white did not even see it. Both of them are not thinking. 6:48 seconds, 6:37 seconds. They're not thinking. I don't know why the hell white is moving his king. Moving his king being up 4 points of material. Are you insane? You have 2 knights. You have this rook that was stayed there for the entirety of the game, and you're not moving the rook. Why? You're moving the king and you're not moving the rook that was there for the entirety of the game? Think before making a move. You have time. You have plenty of times. Actually, you can go and check it out. Go check your account and go check your games. Most of the games that you lost or won are still, you still have a lot of time on your hands. You still have a lot of time. Why? Because you're making a horrendous mistake. You're playing too fast. You're not thinking. When you play too fast, you're not making good decisions in chess. You're not improving. Take your time. Even at the expense of losing the game on time, it's okay. Get good at chess, then try to get good at time management. What is the point of being good at time management and you suck at chess, right? Now, black went here because he saw, wow, he did not take my rook. He played this to defend the knight. King moves, and after a couple of moves, now, as you can see, white is finally thinking. He was like, okay, I'm up material, let me trade. King here, knight here. Now, what did I tell you about trying to draw the game, trying to give your opponent the chance to blunder by keeping more pieces on the board? And it's exactly not about trading pieces. Don't trade pieces down material. You're just making it easy. Your opponent loves this. This is why he made a retreating move, just to get the trade. Don't give him what he wants. Don't give your opponent what he wants. When you give your opponent what he wants, he will be super happy and you will just make his win even faster. So you might as well just resign, right? After this trade, the king takes, and this move is crazy. He has an isolated pawn. It's going to be harder for him to push it. So what do? I take the damn pawn, and now he has two pawns that he can sack one of them, or maybe he can go here, here, and then push, and after it takes, he will have a passer. Don't make your opponent's plans easier. Make it harder for him. Keep the bishop on the board. I mean, as you can see, this pawn is controlling the knight. The knight might be here, but then, the bishop is still trying to fight. And also still stopping this, because you can just take with the bishop. Because if you take with the pawn, your opponent will make a queen. Don't give your opponent what he wants, okay? And now after this takes, knight moved, and after this check, and after this check, he's going to lose the pawn. And here he decided to resign. I just started to play some moves with it, but it's completely dead for black. Why black lost? Because he's not thinking. Black here in this position, after he resigned, he has 5 minutes, 22 seconds. Both of them played 10 minutes plus 0 increments. Okay? Both of them have 5 minutes, and white has 6 minutes. This is crazy. You're not taking advantage of your time. You're not thinking in the game. That's why you're losing. The game gave you 10 minutes to think, not 5 minutes to think, because if you want 5 minutes to think, play 5-minute games, right? Don't play 10-minute games, then just play for 5 minutes. Don't play a 15 plus 10-second increment and lose while you still have over 10 minutes on the clock. This is madness. This time was supposed to be used by you to think in the game, not just by, I don't know, just blitzing out the moves. If you want to play blitz, play 3 plus 2, or 3 plus 0 increment. But if you want to play rapid, respect the time control. And also respect yourself. I mean, how you're supposed to improve at chess and you're not thinking? It's completely illogical, right? Now, I'm going to tell you the mistakes and in the lessons that you have to learn, and in a very short way, and a very concise way that you will remember forever. You will always remember my words. Every move you make is a blunder until you prove it wrong. Every move your opponent makes is a blunder until you prove it wrong. Whenever you're down material, do not trade. Give your opponent a chance to blunder. Give him the chance to blunder by keeping more pieces on the board, and believe me, at the end of the game, they will do something bad. They will blunder because they were overwhelmed. I have a lot of pieces on, I know I have a lot of material, so they might blunder. That's why you have to keep more pieces on the board to punish that blunder. Now, when you're down material, don't trade. When you're up material, trade, because if you are up material and you're giving your opponent a chance not to trade, then you might blunder and he might make use of it, right? Think in this way, and I promise you, you will get super good at chess. And most importantly, please keep this in your brain. Every move you make is a blunder until you prove it wrong. Every move your opponent makes is a blunder until you prove it wrong. Right? Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in another video.